good afternoon. Hope we have some people out there tuning in for this. Going to talk a little bit about a project we're doing this summer called BN-20-C1, which is a roadway on 64th Avenue South from 25th Street to 33rd Street. Here's a brief agenda for today. We'll do some team introductions, then we'll go over a project overview, talk a little bit about special assessments, and then we'll have some contact information if anyone has any questions. We can certainly follow up after the meeting and answer those. So team introductions with us today, we have Jeremy Engquist, who'll be the project manager out on site. Also have Dan Everhart with the City of Fargo. He's the special assessment coordinator. He can answer any questions about special assessments for this project. And then myself, I'm Tom Knockmoose. I'm the assistant city engineer for the City of Fargo. Also on the call today with us too, we have Dakota Underground, Bob Nelson and Jared Heller with Dakota Underground. Dakota is the contractor for this project that we'll be working with. Project location, we do kind of have a few projects that will be ultimately happening here on 64th Avenue. This year's project taking place in 2020 is on 64th Avenue from 25th Street to 33rd Street. That's what's shown here in green. And then we will have a future project coming up starting next year, and that's a blue portion. That'll continue this roadway, including an overpass over the I-29 interstate. So a little bit more about the project. Like I said, it's on 64th Avenue from 25th Street to 33rd Street. Currently that roadway is a rural 2-lane gravel roadway, and we'll be upgrading that to a 3-lane urban concrete road. So that'll include curb and gutter along the corridor. And then also there will be ultimately a center lane with a designated left turn lane throughout. Currently there are existing steel box culverts at drain 53. They'll also be upgraded as well to install concrete box culverts. A little bit more about the project. We'll be upgrading and installing a storm sewer system, making some changes to the water distribution system. We'll be installing a pedestrian tunnel under 64th Avenue near drain 53. Which will allow for safer pedestrian crossings. There will be shared use paths along both sides of the corridor. And then for those properties that are just adjacent to 64th Avenue, we'll be replacing and putting in new concrete driveway approaches all the way up to the property line. And then of course, street lighting will be part of this project as well. Here's just an image of an example of what that pedestrian tunnel will look like. So this is just a great way to be able to cross pedestrians under the roadway rather than at grade. So just makes it a little safer and reduces those conflicts. So timing, the project was bid on April 15th. As I mentioned earlier, Dakota Underground was the low bidder. They don't have an absolute start date yet, but we are continuing to meet with them and anticipate that to be early May. There are 2 separate phases for the project. Phase 1 is 25th Street to drain 53, and that must be completed by mid-August. And then phase 2 is drain 53 to 33rd Street, and that must be completed by late September. And just want to mention that phases 1 and 2 will be running concurrently, and that is necessary in order to finish the project on time. This image just shows what I just talked about. So again, we have phase 1 on the east side going from the drain to 25th Street, which has to be complete by mid-August. And then the western portion, phase 2, that has to be complete by the end of September. So with that, the roadway will be closed down to through traffic throughout the duration of the project, but there are some kind of stipulations that the contractor does have to follow in order to maintain access to the adjacent property. So the contractor will be required to build temporary access roads to each affected property. As the construction progresses, there may be changes to the temporary access routes, or there may be times that access is limited due to construction activities. The most likely one ends up being probably the driveway approaches as those get installed with new concrete. There will be, portions of time where property owners will be impacted. But we'll continue to communicate with those property owners as we get closer to those times. Temporary water service, because we are doing some water main replacement relocation, we will be impacting water service. And so what we do is we set up a temporary water system And that just involves backfeeding your building by running a hose along the front or back of your property, and then connecting it to your building's water system, which is usually just by an outside faucet. And then we do like to mention, though, that when you're on that temporary water system, you may just notice a reduced water pressure or warmer water than normal. Temporary mailboxes. Prior to construction, the contractor will install a group of temporary mailboxes near the intersection of 27th Street and 64th Avenue for residents to use during construction. Following construction, the contractor will reset the existing mailboxes in new locations along 64th Avenue. As I just mentioned, the temporary water service, this is just an image of that. You can kind of see a white or yellow line running parallel to the sidewalk. That kind of serves as the main for the temporary water system. And then there's a black hose leading from that main up to the building. In this image, connected to that outside faucet, and that's how it'll be fed. I'll just mention too that this really will only pertain to those buildings really just immediate to the project that directly get their water off the main that will be replaced. It won't impact those properties that are further away. So a little bit about project cost. Dakota Underground's bid was about $5,151,000. We do add some additional costs that get added for right-of-way acquisition and easements. And then there were also some utilities that had to be relocated as part of the project. And then there are some fees and contingencies that get added as well. So for engineering, admin, legal, interest, and contingency, those do add up to, with everything combined, add up to just over $7 million for the total project cost for this portion. So here's just a breakdown of how we are funding the project. A little over $2 million is being paid by sales tax funds. Cass Water Resource District does pay for a portion of the box culvert for Drain 53. And then special assessments does make up the remainder. So total about 30% is sales tax, 2% is Cass Water Resource District, and then the remainder is 68% being special assessed. So just so, I'm not going to go into great detail about special assessment. If people do have questions about that, I will have contact information, a couple slides for Dan and Doug in our special assessment department, and they can answer any detailed questions anyone has about special assessment. So the bulk majority of the special assessment is for the paving itself. So 64th Avenue is an arterial. We use what's called an arterial band, which is generally basically just a zone extending about half a mile north of this corridor and about a half mile south. So the cost for that arterial paving includes streetlights, and then the costs are really based on location, and they're determined either on front footage or square footage. And there are two types of special assessments, both direct and indirect. Those properties that are directly adjacent to the project pay a higher amount, and then those that are further away pay an indirect benefit, and which is a lower amount. So like I said, if there are any questions, we'd be happy to answer those after the meeting. We did not get any questions submitted to us before, so we don't have any answers to provide right now for the meeting, but we'd be happy to answer any questions people have after this. So best person to talk to about project-related questions would be Jeremy Engquist. He's going to be our project manager out there. You can see his email address here on this slide, and then his phone number is on here also. So anyone wanting to get a hold of him can get a hold of him either one of those ways. And then, like I mentioned earlier, special assessments, if you have any questions about that, Dan or Doug would be happy to help you with that. And again, both of their contact information, both email and phone numbers are available here. With that, that's really all we have. We appreciate everyone tuning in today and look forward to a successful project. We are fortunate. We have a lot of great contractors in the city of Fargo, and Dakota Underground is certainly one of them. They do a great job, and we really look forward to partnering with them again to successfully complete this project. With that, that's all I have today. I appreciate everyone tuning in. Thank you.